Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, my tutorials. I hope all of you are fine. Friends, today's topic of discussion is a prescribed poem in a syllabus of class 11. And the name of the poem is A Photograph, which is composed by the famous poet Shirley Toulson. Friends, first of all, let us discuss the title of the poem. The title of the poem is A Photograph. Isn't the title very interesting? Yes, because the word itself is very interesting, a photograph. And all of us are familiar with the word. Whenever we go into someone's house, then we first of all, what kind of things that attracts our eyes? The photograph, yes or no? Either it is hung on the wall or in the album of the people's almirahs, yes or no? So means this there is an attraction between a photograph and the human mind. So it carries lots of emotions, whether it may be of your childhood, whether it may be of your school days, whether it may be of your adulthood. So like this. So there are different phases of our life, and these phases of our life are stored in only in the photographs, because apart from this the people changes, our physical structure changes, but our memories never change because it is stored in the photograph. Now come to the poem. The poem is written in 3 paragraphs. The first part of the poem is about the poet's mother's childhood. The second part is about her mother's adolescence. And the third part is about the poet's her own adulthood. So friends, in the first line, the word cardboard itself suggests that this is a photograph. Clear? And in the photograph, who are the people? There are 2 girl cousins, and one is a big girl, and that big girl is the poet's mother. She is 12 years or so. Okay? And we get the idea that it is the image or the picture is taken on the side of some water or something like that. Water is there because the 2 cousin girls were paddling, and each of the 3 girls were holding each other's hands. Clear? Now come to the next line. All the 3 stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle with the camera. So these 3 girls are holding each other's hands. Clear? And they were ready to smile, and they were standing still. So we get the idea that they are ready to have a photograph. And who is the person to click the photograph? Is their uncle. Clear? A sweet face, my mother's, that was before I was born. That means it is a reference of the poet's mother's childhood, because she was only 12 years or so. Yes or no? And the poet's mother and her 2 cousins were on the seashore. How we get this idea? Because they were ready to smile, and when they were about to smile, their hair also began to smile because of the wind of the seashore. Clear? And then come to the next line. And the sea, which appears to have changed less, washed their terribly transient feet. So the sea, because of the wind and the weather, their feet were washed by the sea. And the poet says that the sea appears to have changed less. The sea is the same. It did not have changed much. But the feet of the poet's mother and her mother's cousins have changed with the time. Clear? This is just a description of the first paragraph. So what idea do you get from this first paragraph? The idea that we can form from this first paragraph is that it describes about the poet's mother's childhood. Clear? The poet's mother was a very small girl, and it is only the description of her childhood. But here it is also a reference of the loss of the childhood, which was only stored in the photograph as a memory. So I am telling you all the time that photograph is a storehouse of memories. Now come to the second paragraph. The poet says, some 20-30 years later, she would laugh at the snapshot. Her mother, during this point of time, was married, and she had her daughter, that is a poet, by her side, along with whom she enjoyed the photograph of her childhood. And what her mother says that, see Betty and Dolly, she would say, and look how they dressed up for the beach. That means both the poet and her mother were sitting along together, and her mother was pointing at a photograph and saying that look how they have dressed up for the for having a photograph at the beach, and the name of her cousins, mother's cousins, were Betty and Dolly. It was a moment of happiness where a mother enjoys her childhood and the mother's daughter enjoys the laughter of her mother, the happiness of her mother. Clear? Next, it is written, the sea holiday was her past, mine is her laughter. This line is very important because the poet says that the sea holiday was her past, means it was the past of her mother, because she was enjoying the photograph many years later. And for the poet, it was her mother's laughter which she was enjoying. Mother was enjoying her photograph and the poet was enjoying her mother's moment of happiness. To the next line, it is written, both rye with the sense labored ease of loss. So in this line, it is said that the poet and her mother suffer from a sense of loss. Her mother suffers from the loss of her childhood, and the poet suffers from the sense of loss of her company along with her mother, because her mother is no more in this world. So both of them had crossed the sense or suffered from the sense of loss, but still they had learned to accept the losses of their fate. Clear? Now come to the third paragraph. Now she has been dead nearly as many years as that girl lived. So in this line, who is the she? That is her mother, who was once a girl in that photograph. Now she has been dead and the poet remains alone. So she says like this, and of this circumstance there is nothing to say at all, it's silent silences. So now nothing is around the poet except silences and the memories. Clear? So this is the third paragraph. So as a whole, the poem is a description, or it is a nostalgic poem, you can say, where we find the transience of human life along with death and miseries, where human beings changes along with the time, but their memories never changes. And photograph itself is a proof which which restores the memories of different points of our life. All the people may change, people may leave and go and again come, but still the memories remain stored in that a piece of photograph. Now are you clear with the poem photograph? If you have any doubts, you may ask me in the comment box.